Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Vegan View. Today we have a very special guest, Roy Elam. He is a chef and owner of Donna Jean and a mastermind.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so, with every guest, we kind of like to hear how your vegan journey started, what inspired you. So tell us about that.
For me, veganism started out as I just started realizing about factory farms and all that kind of stuff, and I just couldn't in good conscience eat meat anymore. So that was difficult at the time because I was working at Denny's, which was not very vegan friendly at all. So I did that for a little while until I moved to California, and it was actually the first job that I just didn't show up because I just kept looking around because I was just in this really popular little beach town. I looked at every restaurant. I was like, that's serving meat, that's all dead animals, and I just had to stop. So I left and never went back.
Wow.
And that's when I started working at my first vegan restaurant in San Diego. So it was a restaurant called Kung Food. Actually, Donna Jean is in the space of Kung Food.
No way!
Wow. Yeah, it's like this weird circle.
Circle moment. That's amazing.
Yeah. But I also was working for a smaller animal rights group at the time. I was like the annoying guy outside of Whole Foods trying to sign papers.
Yeah. Good for you.
So
totally
I was
walked
doing
past
that.
you.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and it definitely kind of put me on the path of that. So yeah, I've never claimed to be a health food vegan. It's all mostly just because of my conscience. You know.
I love that.
So how long ago is that?
It's probably coming up on about 20 years at this point.
Wow.
20 years of veganism.
20 years of veganism, you guys. So this is before the follow your heart cheese, right?
Yeah.
And the, just egg and Impossible sausages. This is before all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of vegan food was the vegan restaurant serving?
At that time, it was very kind of like hippie food by the pound. So there was
Peace signs, a lot
tofu
of
egg
raw
salads
foods.
and lots of raw food. So it was interesting. But I learned a lot. I say that in that restaurant, I learned how to cook.
Wow.
Because before I only learned how to assemble. I didn't really know how to cook until then. And I think veganism in general taught me how to cook because growing up in the Midwest in the late 90s, early 2000s, the idea of vegan and vegetarian didn't really exist. So we just tried to learn how to cook for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what put me on the path of really learning how to cook. So
And then you made beautiful things. I met you in 2017 or 18, I want to say.
yeah.
This is at not Plant Food and Wine. It was what Plant Food and Wine was before it was Plant Food and Wine. It was
Make. Yeah.
Make. I met you at Make.
Oh,
when
yeah.
It was
Doing
up in
all
that
raw
mall.
food stuff.
When
Yep.
it was up at that mall, and I remember having a 12-course meal and Roy making all of it, and it was
That was a fun
delicious.
experience. Raw
Yeah.
food is a whole other animal. It's really
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely.
But it was fun to do. I liked it.
Yeah.
And when I was working for Scott and Matthew at the time, they were very in sous vide and all that stuff was really popular at the time. So they were using that to create raw food dishes that tasted cooked, which was really interesting. So it was a cool experience for sure.
I would have never guessed that you would have a raw food background. Donna Jean, if you aren't familiar, is one of the most delicious, decadent restaurants
Most
ever.
comforting.
Yes.
And it's also not
It's
raw
not
food
raw at all. My favorite dish there is the hot mushrooms.
Oh, the
and
hot
they are
shrooms, baby.
Oh my god!
With the pickles, I love
pickles on the white
and the
bread.
pickles, people don't understand you gotta eat them all
Yeah,
together.
you
Yes.
gotta eat it
Leave
together.
it on the side. And
It's beautiful, but I would have never guessed that that you came from a raw food background. So that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
How did you where did you go from being that to Donna Jean?
I mean, I think it translated really well because it's all about just treating the ingredients with respect. So just kind of taking that and you take that concept and do it with any kind of food that you do. So, we're really big about sourcing from local farms and working directly with small producers. So in San Diego, we have one farm that we buy almost all of our greens and vegetables from.
That's amazing.
They're called JR Organics. They're amazing. So he sends me his lists, and I try to base my menu based on what they have.
That's sustainability.
And then we do this. We're starting to do the same thing up here, where we talk to some of the farms that are at the Santa Monica Farmers Market. Just try and we switch our menu, quarterly, because that's when the seasons change. So we're getting ready to do a menu switch right now, just springing it up a little bit. So that's why, like the raw food thing, it's all about just like taking something and not messing with it too much. And that's how I treat the cooked food the same way.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm also
You can
curious,
tell.
where did you get the name Donna Jean?
So Donna Jean was my mom's name.
Aww, it's a beautiful name.
It is a beautiful name, and I like DJ because my son is a DJ.
So yeah, I named it after my mom as an homage to her, because she died of breast cancer. It's been a while. I can't remember exactly how long, but I think it's been almost 10 years at this point. And when she was going through the second round, she didn't want to go through chemo again, and the doctor basically gave her a plant-based diet to adhere to. And I just started thinking, like, why aren't we telling people this like way earlier in their life instead of like when they're on the way out?
Right.
I'm not saying that food can cure everything, but it's like
It
it was
prevent.
right there.
It
Yeah.
definitely
So
can help prevent. And
yeah,
help you
so
lead a better
just
life.
my whole goal with Donna Jean is to make vegetables not seem weird to people. I just want people to come in, vegan or not, and just have a good meal. And we don't push ourselves as a vegan restaurant. We are through and through, but I just want people to come in and have a good meal, and that's it.
Have you heard a lot recently people being surprised, like they come into your restaurant like, oh, I didn't know this was vegan.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally.
Love
And
that.
that's the food that we do kind of lends itself to that, to not really knowing. And we also don't do mock meats, because I think that's when things tend to get weird, because people are like, why do you want to have a hamburger if you're vegan?
Right.
Not that I have anything against it. It's just not something that I want to do at our restaurant. And that's also something I learned from my time working with Matthew Kinney and those guys, is they don't do that
They
stuff.
don't do any mock meat.
So
You really
I just
don't
kind of
miss
took
it.
that idea, and that's why we don't have a pepperoni pizza or any of that kind
Right.
of stuff. We just have good tomato sauce, and just try to make a good pizza out of that.
Yeah, it's important to have, I think, both sides of the coin, and I think there aren't a lot of. I think a lot of vegan places have kind of like lended themselves to the Impossibles and the Beyonds or soy chicken, or having kind of like the mock to like soothe our comfort that we get when we have that stuff. But I think it's so important too to really like showcase vegetables and give them a place to shine. And I think Donna Jean does that really well, because you really don't miss. You don't miss like chicken. You don't miss pepperoni or anything. I don't go into Donna Jean going like, oh, I wish there was some sauce. I don't even think about it. I'm just like, this is good pizza.
Yeah.
I just try to throw greens on everything.
I have said on the show before that I'm not a major mac and cheese person. It's not something that I order. If someone else has it, I'm like, oh, I'll have some. Glad I didn't order that. With Roy's, I will order that mac and cheese
so
all the
good.
time.
Thanks.
I've kind of like been following you and your mac and cheese across different restaurants.
Yeah.
And I know.
just keep refining it as I go along.
Yeah, and it's so delicious. Can you talk about that mac and cheese, because I feel like it deserves
Sure.
a good minute. Just
What's funny is
explaining
like, so when I developed that, I was at a restaurant that already had a good mac and cheese that people liked. And I was like, but this could be
This is one in
better.
Studio City.
Yeah. So I was like, why don't we do a baked mac and cheese? So I just started messing around with it. And it's basically just like a cashew cheese sauce that reduces in the oven. We started adding a couple more things to it over the years. So we have some really good cheese that we make at the restaurant. So I started putting that into there, add a little bit of tapioca starch to it to kind of give it a little bit more mouthfeel. But basically the main ingredient that I think that gives it its extra little punch is that we put some house smoked paprika in there. So I originally started with bourbon smoked paprika from this small company out in Kentucky, because they would just save all their, like get old bourbon barrel staves and then smoke the paprika that way. But we started doing it ourselves. And I think that is the thing that kind of pushes it over the edge.
And I'm glad you talk about like, the production aspect and like, the behind the scenes part of it as well. I would love to dive more into that because something that we've noticed, especially in LA, is a lot of vegan restaurants, some that have been open for a few years even, are shutting down, and it kind of seems to be a more like recent thing. Like a few of them are closing their doors for good, and you've had such great success with Donna Jean. I would love to hear more about why you think that Donna Jean has been so successful, and maybe what other vegan restaurants could do to improve their chances of surviving in a very competitive world.
Yeah, I mean, I will say in San Diego, it's been 6 years and almost every day has felt like a struggle, but it's like we just continue to pivot. I think a lot of people don't want to pivot, so you just have to go with the flow. But I think the most important thing is that people just approach it with passion first and business second. And at the end of the day, the numbers are the numbers. Like if you don't have enough money, you can't survive.
Right.
So you have to keep your labor costs in mind. You got to keep your food costs in mind. You got to keep your overhead in mind. And it's really hard sometimes to find management staff that will adhere to those numbers. It's just part of the business, and you have to do it. And it's taken me, if I was still just a chef and not a restaurant owner, I don't think I'd be where I am right now. I wouldn't be thinking the same way that I think, because I have to look at all of it now. Like I see our bank account every day. I see how much money's coming in, how much money's going out, and you just have to keep all of that in mind. Like I can write the craziest, most crazy menu that possible, but if we can't produce it within our budget, then what's the point?
Right.
So I have to think of it that way. You got to think of dual use ingredients. You got to think of how long it's going to take my team to prep all these things. Like I love cavatelli, but you literally sit there and make every single noodle by hand.
Oh my gosh.
So once you do that at a restaurant that's serving 500-600 guests a week, and 20% of them are getting pasta, that's a lot of noodles that you stand there and have to make, and that's 8 hours of somebody just standing there making each little noodle by hand.
Wow.
So that's when you have to choose your battles. Like, I want to do that, but maybe I save that for a tasting menu or something where I can make less of it but make it still special. So it's a hard lesson to learn, because you are passionate about these things. Like I spent a long time teaching myself how to make pasta, and I want to showcase all that stuff, but I have to do it within our means,
Right. Are there any exciting dishes that you feel are a little more innovative that you've been working on behind the scenes?
We're doing, so we do a lot of stuff with our sister company called Scratch House, who makes all of our cheeses, all of our ferments, all of our just basically whenever I need something, I say, hey, can you do this? And he's like, yeah, I can do it. So awesome. So he started smoking the paprika I was talking about. He's got this makeshift smoker that he makes. So we try to showcase a lot of his cheeses. So we're doing a raviolo, which is a large form ravioli, cacio e pepe. So cacio e pepe is just cheese and black pepper. It's like the simplest thing possible.
Right.
But I've found in the last 6 years of doing Donna Jean, people love stuffed pastas. And they're fairly easy to produce. So I started doing one where we just take our house mozzarella, our Parmesan, make a filling with that, which as much black pepper as you can stand. And that's the dish basically. And it goes really well. We actually just sold those at Vegan Street Fair here in LA, and people really enjoyed it a lot. So that one I'm always excited to put out. I've been chasing like a really good cacio e pepe for a really long time. And this is the one that I felt has done the best for us. So that one I'm excited to put back on the menu.
So curious, like as a chef, do you ever get tired of cooking? Like even when you're at home and you're like, oh, I don't want to cook dinner. I don't.
Lately, I'll text my wife. I'm like, what do you want me to bring home? Because I don't want to cook when I get home. We've been doing
Especially
that
with that
lately.
drive that you have, San Diego to LA.
Sometimes, even at home, like she loves her mac and cheese, so I bring that home a lot. Our really good salad, she likes that a lot. But even she gets tired of that. So like my next go-to is I love Mendocino Farms.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like
That's
that
a good
place.
one.
I used to eat at the one in Sherman Oaks all the time. So yeah, I do get tired of cooking. Well, not tired of cooking. I'm just tired.
I'm sure.
That's just really what it is right now. I'm just tired. I still love to cook, and when I have the energy to do it, I'll cook at home all the time. But yeah, a lot of times I just utilize my restaurant and bring food home.
I would.
course,
Might as well.
Yeah. Or I'll buy things that I don't know how to make. So like vegan Thai food. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do the justice that the restaurants do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
here in LA, I would always buy from Lotus Vegan because I love those guys.
Yeah.
There's another small place in San Diego called Veganic Thai that I'll get their food because I just don't know how to make that food.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's the future of Donna Jean? Where do you see Donna Jean in 2 years, and in 5 years, and in 10 years?
I don't know. I used to think that I wanted up to 5 of these, but now that it's been really challenging just to get number 2 open, I don't really know, honestly. Like, there's talk of maybe doing another one, but I want to let this one figure itself out and breathe. So I can make all the plans I want, but I just gotta just kind of feel it out for now. So I think this year will just be focused on making sure LA can sustain itself, and then we'll see. You know, and also, I mean, I know enough things that maybe Donna Jean isn't all that I do. Like, maybe I'd like to do something else, but I don't know yet.
Like a different concept.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to do just a slice shop at some point. It's just like a small, like, little, pizza by the slice place.
That would be awesome.
That's a great idea.
That's down the road.
Yeah.
Just kind of take what we do and do a larger form. There's been talk of like wanting to do a 24-hour diner, but I don't know how that would even work in today's labor market. It's really tough.
Oh, it's crazy.
Well, if you need someone to go at 3 a.m., because I'll be there.
I'll text you every day at 3 a.m. Hey, where are you? Got mac and cheese waiting for you. Exactly. But yeah, kind of going back to our other point, is just kind of working within my means at this point. As again, I can have all the ideas I want, but I want to make sure that they're all sustainable.
Right. Being like, a fully plant-based restaurant, do you ever get approached by some of these vegan brands that are like, hey, we want to put our meat on your menu or
All the
whatever?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I politely turn them down.
Yeah.
Even the bigger cheese brands have come along, and I'm just like, no, we make our own stuff, and they're always excited to hear that, and they're like, oh, of course, don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've turned down all the partnerships just because that's just not what we do, and we're not interested in doing it. So.
Right. As much as I love, that more restaurants are getting those brands in their, wheelhouse and in their menus, I can appreciate so much that you don't, because it's a unique experience, to go and have like a house-made cheese is such a treat. Yeah. It feels very like indulgent and upscale and like,
That's the way we're trying to curate an experience that is solely Donna Jean. So when you come in, yes, it's pizza, yes, it's pasta, but you can't get what we get in
Anywhere
anywhere else.
It's pasta.
So that's why we look at it that way. I can go, 2 miles this way, 2 miles that way, and I'm going to find Impossible Burgers somewhere. So we don't need to have it on our menu.
Right.
So that's just the way I look at it, and I feel like it's worth the trip because of how we do things.
Yeah. Do you ever find that people, I know we talked about it earlier, but about non-vegans going to your restaurant, but do you ever find any pushback on like the fact that there isn't meat on the menu? Like, do you ever have people making comments on that?
Very rarely, and it's usually like some snarky, comment or something. But it's fine. I think most people they're just happy to be there.
Right.
I find that we become more of a destination. So the people that are there legitimately want to be there. It's not like somebody's just walking by and it's like, oh, I'm hungry.
Right.
And it's like please come in if you feel that way. But I feel like people that are coming are there because they want to be there.
You.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we tend to not have a ton of customer complaints. Like everybody's genuinely happy to be there, and I think it shows. And in our staff, they're genuinely excited about what we're doing and are able to sell what we're doing to everybody.
Going back to the business part of things, if you had to redo the Sherman Oaks location, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently?
Because opening a restaurant is difficult.
Yeah, I probably would have made sure we had a patio. I thought because of the location being so close to the freeway that nobody would want to sit outside, but I think people do.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one thing that we would change, is having a patio, and maybe just more seats in general. We have a much larger kitchen there than we do a dining room, and that was mostly because we wanted to do catering and events and all that kind of stuff, which we're going to build on. Like we want to be the place that's at Coachella or any of those bigger events.
Well, you're right next to Universal Studios.
Yeah, so we want to do all that kind of stuff. So
Can you cater my wedding?
yeah, of course. We've actually done quite a few weddings at this point. It's been great. I actually really
Joy's
enjoy
already
it.
planning her wedding. She's not engaged yet.
those hot shrimps on the menu, and mac and cheese, and all the cheese platter plates. I need it all.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I love that.
So patio.
Yeah.
Location wise, and then just kind of like building the business. Like what would you change?
Bill, man, I don't know. It's been tough. So when we first opened, or were planning to open, I felt like there was just like this really big groundswell, and I thought we were just going to be completely swamped when we opened. And I'm not exactly sure why the business hasn't been what we thought yet. So we're just trying to find the best ways of letting people know that we're there. LA, I knew LA was different than San Diego, but it's just interesting. It's a different town, and I'm just trying to find the best ways of serving the community, because that's the thing. We built San Diego based on the town that we're in, the neighborhood we're in, and so we're trying to find what Sherman Oaks wants. You know, so is it different hours? Is it I don't know. I'm not sure yet, but we're just trying different things and just making sure that everybody that walks in is happy when they leave.
It's definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
As you go and you're learning.
And I worked in LA for a really long time, so I thought I had a pretty good grasp on it. But I think since 2020 to now, things have changed so much that I'm not really sure. Like my experience in LA was from 2016, and I feel like the whole entire, at least the restaurant industry, is flipped on its head. So it's all just kind of relearning at this point.
I mean, with the pandemic, I think a lot of businesses had to pivot, like you said, and they had to change what they were doing. They had to change their whole business model, or just, switch up their menu. Like if they had a big menu before, sometimes people went down to 3 items.
Yeah.
And just kind of made that work.
I will say that pre-COVID, our to-go sales were maybe 5%, and now it's like 30%.
Yeah.
So it
people
was
enjoy takeout more now.
if there was anything positive to come out of the pandemic, it was that we were able to build a to-go business that we didn't have before.
The restaurant experience is so special. I mean, like Malina and I went with a girlfriend to Donna Jean, and it was so nice and cozy, and just like there's something about that you really just can't recreate when you're at home. And so that community aspect is so nice, and I feel like your restaurant captures that really well.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is just making an experience from the time you walk in to the time you leave. We want to make sure that everybody feels taken care of.
Yes.
It definitely has a certain vibe to it, like the San Diego location as well as the LA location. Like you walk in and you just feel like comfort and warm, and like everything's gonna be delicious.
It's also a very pretty space.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it was before and how you transformed it?
The Sherman Oaks location, it was like this old Chinese restaurant. When we walked in there, it reminded me of like Sunday school, like drop ceilings, everything was white. It was really weird. I couldn't imagine a restaurant being in there. And it was also, so they had split it to where one side was, I guess, what was the dining room, and the next side was a nail salon. So we had to knock the wall down in the middle. And so we essentially are taking up 2 addresses.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting when I get my power bill. But anyway, it was like that. The one side was a nail salon was all pink and black, and then the other side felt like this stale like church Sunday school room.
Oh, wow.
But the kitchen also, we basically had to gut the entire place and start over again. So it was an interesting process. I didn't realize how much it was going to take to turn that place around.
How long did it take?
Too long. Actually, from start to finish, it was almost 4 years to get them open.
I remember when you announced that you were going to be there. I'm like, oh, great, because that place hasn't been a place in forever. I'm so glad that he's going to be there. And then just time went on and time went on. I was like, I don't want to ask him anymore.
No, I mean, COVID definitely slowed it down. The building department got they were already hard to work with, but it got even harder to work with. And the inspection process took forever.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had no less than 9 electrical inspectors, and they all told us something different. So that made it really difficult.
Wow.
Running a restaurant and like all the processes, and it seems like you have to pivot a lot and like change a lot. Like what makes you like keep going?
I mean, I genuinely enjoy what I do. So I was a touring musician for a really long time. So the restaurant life feels very similar to the band life. It's all about collaboration to get to a bigger goal, basically, you know. So writing a recipe is like writing a song, you know. It's like I bring one idea, and when I bring it to the other 4 people, it becomes better than anything that I thought it was going to be. So that's how I feel about the restaurant. It's like I have a general manager that's usually really good at the front house experience. I'm not good at that. I'm a kitchen guy.
Right.
But then I'll bring my dishes to the kitchen and be like, what do you think? And then we'll just kind of take what that is and make it a little bit better. Everybody's got their own little touch that they put on it. And I think that's what kind of keeps me going, is the whole teamwork aspect of it and the camaraderie of it, because otherwise, I mean, it's super hard work, you know?
It sounds
And
like it.
I feel like if
dedication.
you don't enjoy that aspect of it, you're gonna bow out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get into the restaurant industry because you think it's gonna make you a lot of money, you're going into the wrong business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that you can't make money, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you have to just be willing to put in the work. If you guys don't know, both of my business partners, they also own Plant Power, so they've gone through a lot of the same struggles I've gone through, and they're able to give me very, very sound advice on how to move things forward. So even though we're 2 very different businesses, it all kind of works together to the same goal, for sure.
That's amazing.
Roy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Thank
so
you
great
so
having you
much.
on the show and learning a little bit more about Donna Jean and what goes on in your mind when you're creating all these things. Thank you, and I can't wait to get back there and have more of that mac and cheese, because it is delicious.
I know. I hope you guys at home too are inspired to go support your local vegan restaurants after hearing Roy's story and hearing how much love and passion and dedication goes into opening these restaurants and trying to keep them open. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know how you do it.
So if you're in LA or San Diego, make sure you go to Donna Jean
must.
right after you watch this video.
Yeah, you have to.
And I just want to ask you,
Yes.
if you were on a deserted island, what meal would you bring?
I don't know. Somebody asked me like if I was on a desert island, what my favorite fruit is, and I was like, dates. I like to eat
so
dates.
good. Oh
Jewel
my
dates from
gosh.
California.
Yes, the California grown ones. Oh, so juicy.
So yeah, I could just eat dates all the time. I'd be happy.
Hey, they're packed with so many good
Yeah.
nutrients. It's
You would
great
not
food.
starve. If you had dates, you would be well fed.
Yes.
Back to your raw food roots with that one.
Dates. We have a whole chef here, and he wants to say dates as his last meal.
I know it's weird. I know.
I love it.
Well, here's an idea. Maybe we could do a Donna Jean pizza making class episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would love to.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Let us know in the comments if you want to see us make pizza with Chef Roy.
Yeah, and we will link Donna Jean's social media down below so that you guys can follow. So that if you're ever in the SoCal area, you can come check them out. And don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Bye.